This is Cowabungie. And this is Cowabongo. But the turtles for your 16-bit system are Cowabunga!
Cowabunga, dude.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Player One Start. Today I have a special guest because we have kind of a unique topic we're going to talk about today, and that is cooperative two-player games on the Super Nintendo. And to help me out with this, I brought in a Player 2 for the first time on this channel, even though this is usually called Player One Start. But since this is a topic that I've been asked about several times, you know, especially people who have kids and parents who want to have cooperative experiences, not competitive experiences, it's not really something that happened a lot on older game consoles. Usually you had to play one player at a time due to the limitations of the hardware. But anyway, let me welcome Ryan to the stream.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And Ryan has been on there a couple of times and helped me out, so this is his first time on the video, is that correct?
It is.
Yeah. You've also been with me to a couple of other conferences that I've gone to. The Mario Kart tournament you were in there as well.
It's a little different environment.
Yeah. But, so anyway, how many of these games that are cooperative experiences on the Super Nintendo have you played before tonight?
Not a whole lot of them.
Yeah. So we're about ready to go ahead and sit down and start playing some of these games, and we're going to give you our thoughts as we review each title. So the next game we're going to play is not only a game that's been on the top of cooperative player games, but it's also been number one on single-player playthroughs as well. It's been a game that's been in my collection since it first released. My brothers got it, I think, Christmas of whatever, 92, 93, whenever this game came out, and I've been playing it ever since. And that is Contra 3, The Alien Wars. So if I had to pick a single game that was the most nostalgic to me on the Super Nintendo for multiplayer, this one's either going to be close to the top or at the top of my list. I mean, of course, there's another one we're going to talk about here in a little bit that could be a little bit better, or at least more nostalgic because we played it more often. But I remember this is one I had to have my older brothers help me with just because of how difficult it is, especially to a new person. And Ryan, as someone who has not played this before tonight, or at least may have but don't remember, what did you think of Contra 3?
It was very difficult. I could agree with that. I personally don't like shooter games as much, so it was harder to get into. It was enjoyable, but it was difficult, so it was hard to fully enjoy it as much as I could have.
I think if you had some time to play through the single player and get a little practice with it, maybe you'd get that down a little bit more. Sure. But it's also difficult too because I think I could remember every single detail of this game in my sleep from how many. I play this game at least once a year, and I'll play through it on novice. I used to be able to play it on hard, but now I can barely get through the game on novice now. We got kind of far into it. What did you think, though, of when you died and you ran out of lives, you were able to steal lives from me?
Felt a little guilty, but I guess I would use that life pretty quickly. But it's a cool feature to have.
Yeah. I think it keeps someone from not getting stuck behind it. And, of course, when you both die, you're able to continue from where you left off only a limited number of times. But I think it's something that can help you grind through. Would you prefer playing this game by yourself or playing it co-op like we did?
I think definitely co-op, at least in my experience.
Yeah. So that's one of the things, too. Like, all the secrets, all the methods of playing this game, I learned from playing it co-op with my older brothers. So I definitely think it's definitely a co-op experience. Again, the more hardcore the gamer, the better you're going to like this game in either circle. But you have to be a hardcore gamer to like Contra 3 in the first place. You don't have to have it on original hardware, but my gosh, is this game almost a requirement for a Super Nintendo collector. So Ryan, you need to get on that. But anyway, that's Contra 3. So the next game we're going to try is Goof Troop, and this is one I've previously played on the stream, but I haven't really covered elsewise on the channel. So we're going to give this one a shot, and it's supposed to offer a very good cooperative experience from what I've heard. Kind of surprised we made it through the first boss, and those puzzles that a child could solve in the 90s were surprisingly difficult for me to understand, but I think having two people really helped out with that. What did you think of Goof Troop, Ryan?
It was a good game. I enjoyed it, but it was a little challenging. I was definitely held up by this one right here to get through the game. But it was enjoyable, nostalgia on that game.
I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about the game is the ability you can kind of almost sabotage your second player by throwing things at them, and it stuns them for a little bit. I was definitely, like, whenever you would make a mistake, it reminded me of back in the day when my brother and I would play a game, and I ended up, like, after a while I get frustrated with him, so I just start eventually throwing a pot at him. It doesn't hurt you, thankfully, like in some games, but it kind of gives you a stun, and so we end up doing that, having more fun doing that than playing the game, I think.
Correct.
Have you played much of like old Legend of Zelda? Did you play that a lot as a kid?
Yeah, as a kid, but not since.
Yeah. Did you get any sort of like vibes from a Legend of Zelda like this one, like that top-down perspective at all?
Definitely.
Yeah. So for a kid's game, it's surprisingly well designed for a time when a lot of games were not, like licensed games especially, were particularly terrible. But the Disney Goof Troop one, I'll have to look and see who made that one, but I thought it was very decently made. So, at the end of the day on this one, would you recommend Goof Troop for a cooperative experience on the Super Nintendo?
I think so. It's a pretty good cooperative game.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good too. I think it's kind of boring to play single player, and I think out of the two of us, I'm the only one who's played the single player version of it. But it's exactly the same. And yeah, I think that if you had to play through the single player, would you have wanted to go through and figure all that stuff out on your own, or?
Probably not.
Yeah. So I think this one's better played as a cooperative, and at least that's my opinion of it. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments. Prove us wrong. Now, this is a game I've seen other people recommend as more of a multiplayer experience only and not the single player, and that was Super Bomberman 2. Now, on the guide I was looking at online, it actually said Super Bomberman 5. They recommended that because they could do game saves instead of passwords to continue, and I know that's kind of a big thing for retro gamers. They don't like entering those long, complicated passwords. What was the one that we had in Goof Troop, like the cherry banana and all our stuff? It was just overly complicated, so I think Super Bomberman 2 would be a good replacement for it because anything after 2 didn't come out in the US, so I wanted to keep it as close to US as we could. So Ryan, what did you think of Super Bomberman 2?
I was never playing it before. I figured it out kind of pretty quickly how to play the game. Mm-hmm. Once I figured it out or what to do, it was more enjoyable. Mm-hmm. I definitely enjoyed the puzzle aspect of it.
Yeah.
So it was a fun game.
Yeah. I liked the puzzle aspect too. I do agree. It has very intuitive controls to where you can just pick it up. Easy to pick up, difficult to master kind of gameplay. And I think, that's the best that you can do. It shouldn't be overly complicated. So one of the things that I would just say is that this one is best played multiplayer rather than single player. It provides a better experience when you have someone to team up with. Although, Ryan, how did we do difficulty-wise with this?
As you'll see, it was a struggle at first.
We put it down on the easiest difficulty. We cranked it down to one other player, and we still couldn't win. So maybe we're out of practice with it. Maybe you guys can tell us if we were just completely off with it, and maybe we just should get our brains examined or whatever because we're not that good at it. But anyway, I still had a lot of fun with it, and I think that you guys would too. So definitely one that if you want to pick up, it shouldn't be too expensive. The first Bomberman I can't talk about because this is the only one I have on cartridge, but I think this would be a good one to pick up. Thumbs up for me. Next we had... Oh, you've probably heard of this one. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. And this is one I have a feeling that you have some things to say about. But before I do, I am going to point out, you can probably zoom into the label here and see, mine is not in the best condition. That's why I got it so cheap. Some heat damage on that or whatever. But it still plays. And this is one I think that a lot of people out there would have played and probably haven't played co-op in quite a while. Mainly because it's a licensed game. You probably won't see it out there much. Although the Cowabunga collection just came out. So, anywho, is this a game that you have played before?
Oh, definitely.
Yes. Do you remember beating it? Did you play it more with yourself or with your brothers?
I probably played it more by myself.
Yeah.
But it was fun doing co-op this time.
Yeah.
That sure helped. You got through the game, under half an hour?
Yeah, under half an hour on easy after not playing it for years. You probably close to 25 years.
Correct.
Me probably close to 6 months or so. But yeah, have you ever played this in arcades?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
So I was kind of curious about how we would go through this because a lot of the games so far, it's been, both of us either succeed or fail. It hasn't really been where one of us has kind of gone a lot farther than the other, at least not yet.
Sure.
And I really liked that This was one that we both kept up with each other. It really seemed like if you put it on easy difficulty, you can kind of breeze through it pretty quickly. But then if you're a hardcore gamer, you can crank up that difficulty and come back to it and just see exactly how demanding this game can be and have a lot of fun with it. Also, I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is kind of timeless. It's one of those kids' TV shows that we grew up with that's still out there on the air. Everyone knows Leonardo, Michelangelo, even though we were kind of getting that wrong in the stream, or I was. Who are the other two? Raphael. Donatello. I mean, everyone knows who the Ninja Turtles are, and I think that's something that really makes this game hold up well. The pricing on it is still, it's in that range where I don't think everybody should buy it, but if you're looking for, especially for kids, this, I think, would be a great title to share with people because it's one of those ones that, even though it's kind of, I don't know, did you consider it too violent for kids?
I don't think so. Especially nowadays kids.
Yeah. They watch YouTube all the time and there's nothing but violence out there.
Correct.
I'll probably cut that comment out.
Yeah.
Don't want to bite the hand that feeds.
That's right.
But anyway, I'll leave it in too. I think this is just one that I've played several times over. I wanted to get it so long for this system, but my favorite one's probably on the NES. Did you ever play any of those?
Oof, I don't remember. I don't think so.
Yeah, you were born a couple years later than me, so the NES was probably right at the end of what you can remember.
Yeah.
So, but really, my favorite one will still be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 for the NES, but this is a very, very close second. Maybe sometime we should try to go through the Genesis version. I don't know if that'd be something, but... Anywho. Next... Now, the next game that we played is actually... the only one I could find at the moment is my Super Famicom copy, because I must have put my Super Nintendo copy somewhere else at the moment. But we played Darius Twin. Now, this is a side-scrolling shooter that a lot of people don't really care for the genre, at least back in the day they didn't. So I'm curious, have you ever played a game like this back in the day on the Super Nintendo?
I feel like I have. Not sure of the game, but definitely not my style of game that I like to play.
Right, so compared to what you usually play, what do you usually play on the Super Nintendo? What did you back in the day play?
Oh, man. Put me on the spot.
Well, like the types of games, genre-wise.
Mainly sports.
Yeah.
Or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
So more or less sports games is what I'm thinking of, like baseball, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the things where I'm like, I was really curious to see what your reaction to a game like this would be, because these are games that I really think mostly hardcore gamers are into. And I've seen that from other people online who talk about that. So what was your experience with the side-scrolling shooter? What did you think of that?
I wasn't a fan. It was hard. Definitely got out pretty early in that one.
Yeah, that was one that takes you all the way back to the beginning regardless of what level you start at. And people in the comments when we were streaming this were warning us, this game is hard as nails. We shouldn't try to play this one on stream. It's not for the timid. And I had played through the first level before, but even still, I think did I die the first time? We couldn't get back out of the first level after we did the first time.
Right.
Even though I was playing better, I ended up doing worse before the boss. So, in terms of a co-op player experience, what do you think of recommending a game like Darius Twin to people?
I think it's better for two people to try and get through the game, but depends on your taste of game, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, I would say that too. I could see it being one that if you're a hardcore gamer, you can grind through it single player and still have fun with it. But yeah, if you're more of a casual gamer, I think it's more fun to have someone who's more into it, and you just kind of help out every once in a while. I think for a while, though, the only thing I didn't like is that there's no way to jump back in once you die, because until both people are dead, and then it sends you all the way back to the beginning. Probably a cheat code would be nice to have just to skip ahead levels and play through, and then you can kind of practice and then go back and try to beat it all the way through. I'd be interested to come back to this one, but hardcore gamers only is what I recommend this to. So that's all the games that we've played so far. Out of all those games that we had, which one do you think is your favorite out of that?
Probably Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
It's gotta be.
I would say probably the one that you played the most as a kid, probably.
Yeah. And then Mario Kart, close second.
Close second for that one. Yeah. I think my first one is Contra 3, just because, again, for me, it's that personal nostalgia factor. I still think it holds up well today. And then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, that's just classic as it is, too. So, any final thoughts?
Thank you, Tyler.
For putting you on the spot so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun playing the games.
Yeah, I think we had a lot of fun with it. So, of course, we're all tired now because we've been playing for 4 hours now, plus doing all this. So,
yes.
So that said, I think that's going to wrap things up for this video. Again, I want to thank Ryan for being my special guest for today and player 2 in the video.
Thanks for having me, Tyler.
Hey, you're always welcome, man. As always, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. If you like this video and you'd like to help out with future projects on this channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. A special thanks to those Patreons you see on screen. Also, if you like what you see, please remember to leave a like and click that subscribe button on your way out. As always, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.